in Lovie's defense, the keys to the defense were the 3 technique and the will linebacker, because that's what they had in Warren, Sapp, and Brooks in Tampa Bay. So he had to have those guys. Well, we didn't have, if you remember the defensive line that we had with Dick, and Greg Blosch was the defensive coordinator, we had these big monsters.
Yep.
3 out of the 4 guys were Alex Brown was a small guy at about 250, 255, but the other guys were 350, 375, and 310. Between Taylor, Washington, and Daniels. Mm-hmm. We had to totally change the defensive line, and that's the year we took Tommy Harris, but he also said, he had to have a will linebacker. So in my office, there was, the cards for each of the players, and they had their height, weight, and speed. So Lovie comes in, and Lovie didn't know Lance. So he looks at his speed, and he goes, he can't play. Why not? And he had, had a very strong rookie year. Look at the speed. So Lovie, he plays 4.55. He timed 4.78 or 4.77 at the combine. So Lovie, don't worry about it. He plays in the 4.5. He's got great instincts. And that, he goes, okay, I'll trust you. We'll see what happens. And obviously, history is history. Lance was a great linebacker in that scheme, and part of it was his instincts. As good as an instinctive player as I've ever been around.
Welcome to the very first episode of Bear Football. How about that open, John Buffone and Tyler Ellis? You like that?
Oh, baby.
Woo, that's going to be the summer blockbuster of the summer.
The perfect way to start a show. It just feels like Bear Football, and this is Bear Football, our brand new show that is actually going to be our post-game show after every Chicago Bears game of the 2020 NFL season. This very first episode with John Buffone, Tyler Ellis, and myself, Aldo Gandia, is kind of our test run. We're going to talk about the 2020 season, but we're also going to take a look back at the 2019 season to see what kind of a foundation was left, if you want to call it a foundation, a cracked foundation was left for this season. Quick introductions. If you have been a fan of the Barroom Network for years, then these guys are very familiar to all of us. It's John Buffone, the host of Buffone 55, and now the co-host of Bear Football, and Tyler Ellis of the Barfly Tailgate Show. And Tyler's got a lot of new things happening also on the Barroom Network. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Amazing.
Doing good, Aldo. I mean, I am so psyched for this show. This is going to be a lot of energy. There's going to be right after the game. We're going to, all of it's raw, all of that raw emotion that you have after the game. I finally get to say it into a microphone. So I'm pretty stoked about this, because now I don't have to get my phone like this and tweet it out and have 5,000 misspellings and have it all in caps with 9,000 exclamation points. I can just get on this show and say exactly how I'm feeling.
Exactly. Tyler, you feel the same way?
Facts on top of facts. I don't have to send 20 different text messages to 20 different people that I'm trying to educate on what just happened. And so at the end of the day, we've been hibernating for too long, baby. And so the monsters are loose. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things that has me so excited about doing this show with you guys is the level of passion and intellect about the game of football and your passion for the Chicago Bears. And just, I mean, you talk about electricity. You guys bring it every single time, and that is what Bear fans are all about. people who are going to watch this show are avid Chicago Bears fans. They're going to be clinging on every word, every interview we post. They're going to be debating with us. We've got the chat room closed today, of course, because this is not a live show. But during the season, after these games, when we're on 5 minutes after the final whistle, that chat room on the YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, on our Twitch page, all of those channels where this show is delivered, that chat room, those comment sections are going to be open, and we'll be monitoring them and posting them on the screen. And John and Tyler or I will be answering your questions or debating with you in some cases about an opinion that you might have, or agreeing with you because you guys are smart fans, so you're probably going to agree with what we got going here. Guys, go ahead.
I got to say this real quick, Aldo. I got to say this. This is such an honor for me to be able to do a Bears post-game show. Given who my uncle was, Doug Buffone, and all of the magical rants he had after Bears games, to be able to do a Bears post-game show is something that I take a lot of pride in. So just know that if you're watching this or listening to this, I'm putting my heart into this, because I know I'll never live up to what Doug Buffone, my uncle, was able to do. But man, just to be able to do a Bears post-game show, it really is something that I can't really put into words. So I'm really excited to be a part of this.
That's right. And for a lot of you young fans, you may not know this, that John Buffone's uncle, Doug, played 15 seasons for the Chicago Bears. When I first started watching football a long time ago, Doug was already in his second or third season. And I remember looking at number 55 and saying, wow, everybody talks about 51, but that 55, he's pretty good. And as I learned the game of football more, I saw that 55 was doing a lot of things to sacrifice himself so that Dick Butkus, the Hall of Fame legendary linebacker, could roam the field and create all of these fantastic plays. I told John this on his show, Buffone 55, that deep in my heart, I truly believe that Doug Buffone should be in the Hall of Fame. And anyone that asks me that or debates me on that, I'm ready to go toe for toe. I saw him with my own eyes. I saw him live at games. I saw every game on television, and I just think that he was a tremendous player. And John, this is really cool that you're doing this.
You'll hear no arguments out of me about the Hall of Fame thing.
And Tyler, your passion for the Chicago Bears runs as deep as anyone here on this show or anyone here on the Barroom Network. I mean, when this show was mentioned, Tyler, immediately after we had a staff meeting with all the Barroom people, Tyler calls me up and says, man, I want to be on that show.
I mean, it was an opportunity, man, especially like when the universe starts to align and you see my man John right here, somebody that I respected as a fan from his work, the tenacity and then that he puts into his work. Anybody can talk about it, but to be properly prepared. I like people that are proficient at their craft. It shows how much they care about it. Anybody can just throw out content, but like to his uncle, to his credit, somebody that I used to listen to, you know what I'm saying? He had segments on the Score 670. Like I'm waking up early 6 o'clock in the morning to get these bites and these things that I like people that speak the game from the field perspective. And that's different because sometimes analysts, it can be, I don't want to say hidden agendas or narratives, whatever, but like somebody who can talk about it from being around the guys on the team, the guys on the field. It just brings more to it, man. This is big. It's bigger than football. It's bigger than football. It's bigger than a game. And so like that 90 minutes, that time on the field, like nothing else really matters. Nothing else really matters because the time that you step into the locker room, that's game time. Game time has already started. The game starts before the kickoff. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we're trying to think about the excuses that we're going to have in the fourth quarter. Let's talk about them right now. And so like to be able to be here with you gentlemen and talk this up, I am honored and blessed and just like very appreciative and psyched up and prepared. Let's go, baby.
I love it. I love it. All right. I want to begin by talking about something that is not a happy topic, and that is the 2019 season. It was a huge disappointment for me personally because I truly believed that the Chicago Bears were on their way to improving on their 11-5 record from 2018 and that they were headed to a deep playoff run and possibly even a Super Bowl. But lots of things went wrong. So I want to start by asking you, John, what was the level of disappointment that you experienced with that 2019 season?
The disappointment was so high that I don't know if I'm ever going to be overly excited about a Bears season ever again. Because the table was set. They're coming off of a 12-4 season. They win the division. They're in the playoffs. This was going to be the redemption for the double doink game. All that's put in the past. We're moving forward. You bring in David Montgomery, the guy who you think is going to fit in really well with the offense. Mitch Trubisky coming off a Pro Bowl season. This is the year that you step forward and all of a sudden they can make consecutive playoff appearances. It's the 100th season in Chicago Bears history. Why would you not have such monumental expectations? I mean, as Bears fans, perhaps we should just be instinctually snake bitten, but still, my expectations were so high, and then they kind of fall apart again week 1 against Green Bay. They lose 10-3. The offense did absolutely nothing, and you're like, okay, that wasn't great, but maybe they're just getting their feet underneath them. They kind of get on track. They go 3-1, and then they start losing games they have absolutely no business losing. They lost to Oakland and in Great Britain. They lose to the Chargers, a game they should have won. They lost. They continued. They never really took that step into this team is for real. And the year before, they were exceeding every expectation. So it was a fun ride. Like, this team wasn't supposed to be good this early. So whenever they showed that 12-4 season, the only thing a fan could think of was, well, if they did that last year, what are they going to do this year? They're going to be better. They're going to run the ball more. They have a guy that everything's going to come together. They got all the pieces. The defense is back. Everything's going to just fall in line. They're not even going to need a wild card game. They're going to win the division. They're going to be in they're going to get a bye. And then none of it happened. None of it happened. Absolutely nothing came to fruition. Mitch didn't take a step forward. The running game sucked. There was only one. Allen Robinson's the only bright spot on the offense, and the defense got another year older without actually getting to prove themselves in the playoffs. So how can you not be devastated by the 2019 season? 2018 was a great surprise. 2019 was an utter devastating failure. I don't care if you're 8-8. It was absolutely nowhere near what they were supposed to do. So I can't even put, if there was a gauge for disappointment, the glass would have broke and the arrow would have spun around 9 times. That's where my disappointment level is.
I hear you. Tyler, I remember seeing you at the Family Fest game. It was about a year ago today, and it was the first time we met. We gave each other a great big bear hug, and that hug was just not only about happy to see you, man, finally face to face, but it was also a hug where 2 diehard Bears fans were just so happy that this season was going to happen, and the smell of the Super Bowl hunt was in the air, and then it fell apart. Describe your disappointment for us, please.
It was coming off the 100th celebration. Everything was set up. We got the primetime games. It just reminds me of before, especially when, as much as people want to talk bad about the Bears, when the schedulers see something coming and the Bears got 6 primetime games or something like that. Like, this is our time to buckle down. This is the harvest season. It's a huge disappointment. But as a football, I mean, what tends to happen is people saying the same blame things, but it was like different components. When you lose Akeem Hicks, like things can go array. And so like I saw why it happened, but I also saw improvements. I mean, even in the Green Bay game, I mean, you still held Aaron Rodgers to 2-3 positive plays the entire game. That means something. At the end of the day, it sucks, but at the end of the day, Punk Rodgers, man, he always gets away with this thing. He's going to try to kill you with the Hail Mary. Like my brother John said, always losing games that we shouldn't have lost. But from a football perspective, I look at the individual one-on-one. This guy, we're losing for different reasons. Some of it may not be the same, but sometimes we can just coop it all together. And so it's different types of accountability. My disappointment level was high because I know I can't wait for the world to see what I see. And because I know where we can be. And I know what's coming together. And I do believe Matt Nagy is the coach for us because I'd rather have the Bears problems than the other diva problems that the other teams have. All of our problems are football related that can be corrected. Like when we transition from the practice field to the on field, but I'd rather have the Bears issues than the stuff that the other people are dealing with.
John, are you buying into the optimism that Tyler is selling?
Listen, I want to be optimistic. I don't want to come off as a curmudgeon. I'm not old enough to be that way yet. I haven't lived through enough Bear seasons, although it feels like a lifetime to feel that way. But after what I saw last year and seeing what they did in the offseason, we'll get to that in a little bit, but why should the expectations be higher? I mean, what did they really change? I mean, I get that you like my man Tyler said, those are all fixable. Those are football problems. There's not like it's not like a toxic atmosphere around the locker room, which is great, which is a big component to that. However, we're in a really weird, time in history where they didn't get a whole lot of time in training camp. They didn't get to work out a lot of things in preseason games. They didn't get to, work the kinks out like they normally would in a normal season. So as far as the 2020 season goes, I would love to be optimistic and say this team is a 10-win team, but there's a lot of stuff that has to go right that I'm not sure is absolutely going to go right. Is the offensive line going to come together? Is David Montgomery, first of all, he's going to play in the beginning part of the season. Second of all, is he going to take that step where we saw some flashes last year? If he can get some holes opened up for him, he does break tackles well. Can he turn into what they want him to do, what they want him to be? The tight ends supposedly are a pleasant surprise at training camp with Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet, the second-round pick. Maybe that takes them. Maybe that allows Matt Nagy to do a little more what he likes to do on offense, incorporating the tight end, getting a little more going. But there's a lot that has to go on, and still, even if you have a great defense, it doesn't mean a whole lot if the offense isn't scoring points. If your defense is constantly getting trotted back out there after a 3-and-out, guys are going to get hurt. We saw it last year. They're going to slow down. They're going to get winded. We saw it last year. So I'm not worried about the defense, but I am worried about the offense being a huge detriment not only to the scoreboard but to their counterparts on defense. So I'd love to be optimistic. I'd love to say that this team has the potential to, rattle off 11, 12 wins. There's just a lot of questions right now. And with no preseason games, I don't have a lot of answers.
Well, I'll tell you this about Tyler's, what Tyler shared is that one of the things I've learned over the years is that the game of football at the NFL level is unlike any of the other major sports. At the end of the year, most teams will have the margin of error is so thin. And, it's that Al Pacino speech in Any Given Sunday where he talks about, I wish I had it queued up because I don't want to even pretend to do an Al Pacino impersonation, but he talks about how thin that line is between winning and losing. And that is what I see all the time, not only with the Chicago Bears, but with a lot of other NFL teams. Now, the paradox to that is that the level of a difference at certain key positions can be so huge. So, for instance, the Chicago Bears could have easily have been 11-5 last year.
Correct.
And was so close. But the difference in play at the quarterback position between a Mitch Trubisky and an Aaron Rodgers, it's huge. It's a
chasm.
Huge. It's a chasm. And so, I buy into what Tyler was saying, that there is reason to be hopeful, but the one thing that worries me is that quarterback position. Tyler, with the acquisition of Nick Foles, do you believe that the Bears have, at the very least, by creating competition at that quarterback position, do you believe that the Bears have addressed that and also bringing in a new offensive coach to help with that?
I believe at 1,000% they did. I believe at 1,000% they did the best that they could. I mean, you can talk about all the other free agents, but at the end of the day, Nick Foles is a Super Bowl MVP who did what a first-round overall draft pick has not yet done, who is hurt again. And so Nick Foles, at the end of the day, is the best insurance policy that you could possibly have on the NFL team. To come in twice, different years. First of all, beat Tom Brady in his own game. Like, what? Wait a minute. On the biggest, anybody can talk about it in preseason, during the season. He beat Tom Brady on his own game on the biggest stage. And so at the end of the day, he knows how to get it done. A 9-year vet. Guys, I have a background in psychology. When you bring another alpha male to the environment, it raises the endorphin level, it raises the levels, man. So Mitch has stepped up regardless. So I'm a believer in Mitch. I like Mitch. He's a good kid. He's a good student. He always pays homage to his teammates. He does need to step it up. I want Mitch to get upset, flip a table or something. Like, say, this is my team. Like, just stop being the nice guy. Like, just get mad. It's okay if you get in trouble. like to show us that you care. Because I mean, I love Jay Cutler, but at the end of the day, bro, show me you care a little bit, bro. And so, but I think the Bears did a good job because you brought somebody in. Like Nick Foles is like he's collecting good quality checks. At the end of the day, Nick Foles is not scared to get into the field. So Mitch, bro, you don't got much time before you're gonna be a career backup. You're gonna be a career backup, or you're gonna. I think Mitch will be like great in New England, to tell you the truth. If like Mitch was released, he was in New England, I think he would do damage in that type of. And I just think with the right type of preparation. And so, but at the same time, it goes back to our rookie-ish head coach, who's still getting used to controlling a whole environment of teammates and calling an offense. And so, but that still goes back to offensive line play. The launch points. I feel like bringing in a coach, Juan Castillo from the Eagles, that has experience teaching an athletic offensive line is going to make Mitch more comfortable in throwing the ball, trusting his offensive line. I mean, we know the condition that Kyle Long was in before. All these things play a factor. When you have a rookie coming at the center position, I mean, go back. There was a lot of blocks missed. Go back to the Green Bay game. There's a lot of blocks that got missed at the center position. What do you want a man to do? I mean, you got to protect yourself. You got to protect it. There's different. Like this goes back to accountability, man. But I believe the Bears addressed it. I mean, we could have won the flash and grammar like picks, but Ryan Pace doubling down on your guy, Mitch. This is your last year of your deal. I think they did good by not redoing it. Let him earn it. But like, bro, if you don't win this job, how are you going to earn it? And so it's like, I like that fire in him. And me, I like to bet on the underdog. I like to bet on that penny stock. Like, I like that because I want to see what guys are made of. Like, I don't like to serve a spoon in your mouth. I want to bet on the underdog. I don't know. So I'm excited to see it, brother. I'm a fan. I want to be optimistic, but like, yeah, give me a reason to be optimistic. But I know what Nagy is. He's a good leader, bro. Nagy is a good leader. And at the end of the day, Nagy's trying to build up these men as much as football players. So.
I'm buying a lot of what Tyler is saying. My hesitation is his confidence in Matt Nagy. And I do believe that Nagy is a good leader of men, unlike a Mark Trestman, who had an excellent football mind, particularly for offense, but just was not a leader of men, could not lead a locker room, alienated the defense and so forth. I don't think Nagy has done that. I think he's actually brought the team closer together. But the question is this is now what, his third season? If he doesn't have it under control in terms of leadership for offense, defense, special teams, and overseeing the entire thing and firing people up, there were a number of games last season where that team did not come out ready to play. You know, the game in London is a perfect example. The Raiders just came out of there ready to play, and the Chicago Bears did not. So I'm hopeful that Matt Nagy is going to mature as a coach, and that we're not going to hear him saying anymore in post-game conferences, I'm learning too. I don't want that, right, John? It's not school is over. Let's get to work.
No, it's time to make some hay. And you know, I agree and disagree with Tyler. I like that Nick Foles is a fantastic insurance policy, but that's what he is. I have a little bit of an issue of how they address the offseason because they didn't go out and bring in a day one starter. Because if they sign Cam Newton, he's the day one starter. If they go out and they sign Teddy Bridgewater, most likely he's the day one starter. No questions asked. So they bring in Nick Foles and they spend a 4th round draft pick on him. They pay him. He comes in. But now we're in a little bit of a conundrum. You want to know why? Because there's a quarterback competition and no one's really separating themselves in that quarterback competition. So there was one of two scenarios that the Bears were really betting on. One, Nick Foles comes in. He uses that relationship that he has with the head coach and the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach. He uses that. He takes like a duck to the water to the offense. He starts, just dropping dimes in training camp, and they have no other option but to make Nick Foles the day one starter, and he gets the keys to the offense. Or, like Tyler was saying, that lights a fire under Mitch Trubisky, and he starts playing lights out, and he starts playing like we've never seen Mitch play before, and he is, playing like a man on fire, and the Bears have no other choice but to give Mitch the keys to the offense, and he is the starter and potentially your franchise quarterback like what you drafted him for. The problem is now neither one of them has really stood out, at least from what the reports are. I mean, I'm not internally watching the guys and be able to see replays on film or anything, but all the reports are saying, well, it's neck and neck. It could go either way. We'll make our decision next week before the game. That's not where you want to be. I don't want to be in a position where it's just like, well, if it's a tie, we'll put Mitch in there for 1 or 2 games. If he struggles, we'll put Foles in. How many times in history does a team change quarterbacks and they're a playoff team or a division winning team or a Super Bowl winning team outside of an injury where, Nick Foles does have some experience coming in as a backup and going to the playoffs, which that's all well and good. But as far as a quarterback struggling, that means you're losing games, and that means you're not playing well enough, and you got to make a change at quarterback. I don't want 2020 to be a throwaway evaluation year. I've had too many of those, and not to mention that both of these guys could be gone next year. They didn't pick up Mitch's 5th-year option. Foles can, even if he has a good year, he can opt out and go get paid somewhere else. So I don't really like how they did this in the offseason just because there is no contingency plan post 2020. Even if Foles goes in and plays lights out, he could go sign somewhere big again, cash out again one more time before his career's over, and he might not be in Chicago. Mitch will be gone. You're going to start Tyler Bray next year, or are you going to let that defense age a little bit more and then go draft a guy, a rookie in the 1st or 2nd round, and hopefully your defense can stay good for another 1 or 2 years before he really comes into his own? I have an issue with how they address the quarterback position just because it's gambling that 2020 might work out. And then after 2020, who the hell knows? We don't know who's going to be here. We don't know if Foles will be here. We don't know if Trubisky's going to be here. There's no developmental quarterback in the system right now that they drafted. They got Tyler Bray, who, God bless him, he's going to have an entire career just, being on the team, then getting put down to the practice squad. I think that's a great career. 99.9% of athletes will never do that. So I'm not going to knock Tyler Bray at all, but he's not going to be the starting quarterback of the future for the Chicago Bears. We don't know. We don't even know who's going to start week 1, let alone who's going to start in 2021. So I think that they could have went about this a little differently just if you're looking long-term. But maybe Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy aren't looking long-term. Maybe they're a little more focused on the present, because if you have a 5-11 year or a 6-10 year, maybe those seats get a little bit hotter. And I'm not saying that they should lose their jobs yet, at least. I think they have a little more slack. But you throw in a stinker of a season, that doesn't do you any favors. So I think they could have addressed this a little bit better. Even hell, let me ask you guys both right now: if they would have signed, who would you rather have in this quarterback competition right now? Would you rather have it Trubisky and Foles, or would you rather have Andy Dalton in there where you didn't even have to throw in a draft pick? You wouldn't have to. What did he sign for? He signed for a ham sandwich in Dallas. So would you have rather brought Andy Dalton in for a couple of pennies, see what he can do in a quarterback competition, and maybe you have something? Or do you really think that Nick Foles was the guy that really wanted to bring in? Because so far it doesn't sound like what's going on in this quarterback competition. No one is separating themselves. So would you say, if you said I could throw Andy Dalton in there right now into the quarterback competition, would you take it?
Tyler, you go first, and then I'll finish it up and go to a commercial break.
No. I mean, throw them in there for pennies. Why not? For sure. You can always, more competition, the better. But I think the one asterisk that's being forgotten, brother, is the fact that this was a COVID impacted offseason where you couldn't do physicals on quarterbacks. And around that time where everybody was picking quarterbacks, guess what? Cam Newton was skipping rocks, bro, last year. He was skipping rocks. Greg Olsen, he was throwing 5 yards off to the left of Greg Olsen back in the day. He kind of lost his job, in my opinion, to a rookie, and they blamed it on the injury. Cam is the man. Much respect to Cam, Superman, one of the most, man, he's a beast. But by the football, I saw him skipping rocks like Donovan McNabb, respectfully, at the end of his career. And it's just like, you can't invest something into if you can't get a physical for it. And so at the end of the day, and from my research, Teddy Bridgewater didn't want a competition with Mitch Trubisky. That's what the information that I received during because there was an offer out there. This is the information that I got. I don't know. I'm not that close.
Would you take Bridgewater right now? Would you take Bridgewater right now and say day one starter? Well, then why didn't they do that?
No. I ain't say day one starter. I would bring him as a competition. I would
say day one starter. Throw him in.
But I get it, because I get it.
Third win now.
I mean, you gotta be winning now. It's been too much time, but at the end of the day, I say competition. I mean, what Bridgewater did for the Saints is like, that's pretty awesome. I mean, he kept that thing alive when Breeze went down. And so Andy Dalton, no, because Andy Dalton had Adrian Green for years, and there was no development. There was no nothing, a playoff, anything past the first round or anything. And so no, thank you. Nick Foles is what a first round overall pick hasn't done and couldn't do like Nick Foles did it. Like there was even like the starter, the wide receivers from the Eagles was like, Nick Foles is getting us. You see what I'm saying? There's difference in terms of leaders of men. There's people on how you resonate with your teammates on and off the field. Anybody can be the man when you get in commercials, but who are you in practice? Who are you behind the scene? Those things matter to me. I don't want a quarterback that's just coming in here. This is just because of a name. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'd rather take my long-term investment shot with the guy that's going to connect with his teammates and learn his body language. It hasn't all been figured out yet, but it's different things here. Offensive line play, lack of a running game. When you don't have a tight end, a proficient tight end that can take the safety's attention off your number one, number two slot receivers, then what do you expect? Right? The reason why Kelsey is so dangerous, guess who was calling that offense? Guess who was helping that offense? But we didn't have that. So Allen Robinson and our number twos, they're getting more attention because the tight end was one position. So what do we expect to be open when there's not much separation being created because they know what we can't do? So there's multiple layers of accountability that we want to put onto the quarterback, that we want to put onto these things, but it all goes back to execution. And so we could if you change the seat every time, it's not going to be right, man. This new NFL, if a quarterback doesn't do anything, get him out of there. No. Ever since Joe Flacco, Matt Ryan came in here, it's like the first round got to start. What happened to the day somebody was getting a clipboard for a second? Did they not remember who was Patrick Mahomes with all his first year? Yep. Who was Patrick Mahomes walking the sideline with? Mitch Trubisky didn't have that. He was walking around with Nagy for a whole year, watching MVP caliber type of play Alex Smith for the first 6 weeks of the season. Let's just take it back real quick. Sometimes we have to slow down and go fast. We can't always chase the shiny new thing because every single thing, what if those guys come here and they get hurt? Sometimes we got to trust the process. I understand our defense is prime. We got Khalil Mack in his prime. This is the time we need to be doing all cylinders go. So I get you on the wheel now, bro. I'm with you. I'm so with you, bro. I won a Super Bowl. And the fact that I'd be sorry, sucks if it happened this year because they got kind of an asterisk on it. But I like the fact this is an equal playing field. We're going to see which team is doing the most in the offseason this year.
Let me add that I think that what the Chicago Bears did is pretty obvious this offseason, is they said, we have to win now, guys. We have to get some veterans in here. And so they started by, we need a system quarterback. We need someone who really knows this offensive system. And so Nick Foles was the best choice out of all of the available quarterbacks. They didn't want to go with a Dalton because he probably wasn't as good a fit as Nick Foles was for this particular offensive system. They didn't go with Teddy Bridgewater because I think the investment there would have been way too much. They would have essentially said, we're giving up on Mitchell Trubisky, and because they had to pay Teddy Bridgewater $20-some million to get him onto the roster. So they went with like Tyler said, they went with the best case scenario. On the offensive line, they made such a huge investment onto those offensive tackles in terms of salary, and they were not happy with Harry Houston and how he got those guys ready to play. And there was a disconnect between Harry Houston's way of working and Matt Nagy's offensive system. And so they went out there and got a coach who is familiar with the Andy Reid, Matt Nagy system. And they are really putting in their chips on Juan Castillo, getting improvement out of all of these players on the offensive line. They went out and got that tight end, those tight ends, actually, they got 3 of them to totally redo that tight end room. Because as Tyler said, this offense is reliant on a tight end. Go back to the 2018 season. Trey Burton actually had a pretty decent season. His best as an NFL player, 60-plus catches. I think it was 8 touchdowns. And so he was sorely missed last season. And there were the Adam Shaheen bust was awful. I mean, you look back at the tight end statistics for the 2019 season, I think there was a total of about 15 receptions. And so you can't do that. And there were a couple of things that they did not address. I still feel like they needed to address a backup veteran running back, but they've put their chips in to addressing most of the areas of concern, and they did it with getting guys that fit into the system who can come in and help them win right away. All right.
Well, yeah, I was going to say real quick, just to your point, you don't re-sign Danny Trevathan if you're rebuilding. You don't sign Ted Ginn if you're rebuilding. You don't re-sign some of these veterans, or you don't bring in Jimmy Graham if you're looking for 2 to 3 years from now. So they are looking to 2020. My concern is the best case scenario for both of these quarterbacks in 2020. Why do we still not know then? We're gonna do this, smoke and mirrors about who we don't know? They might both be out there. Nobody said that, but what I'm saying is we're talking about the scenario as well. We'll put Mitch in there for a couple games, see how he does, and then we'll put Foles in. I hate that because you're much to what Tyler's saying. You're changing your leadership then. You're changing the face in the huddle. You're changing the voice at the line. And, I'm not saying there's going to be some kind of schism between Mitch guys and Nick guys, because I think they're both high character guys where both sides respect each other. And so Nick respects Mitch respects Nick. I don't think there would be any kind of animosity there, which is great, which is what you want. But that also doesn't put 20 on the scoreboard either. So I don't like that we're constantly in this of, well, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Right. How many other quarterback competitions are going on right now?
Right.
Any? Even the Jaguars are saying we're going with Gardner Minshew. They didn't want Foles. We're going with Gardner Minshew. And so we're talking about commitment, and Tyler's talking about letting guys work their way through. I mean, at what point though, if this is Mitch's 4th year and it's not there, it ain't there. If it ain't there this year, it ain't there, and we just wasted another year of an elite defense, and we're going to end up having an aging defense like we had in the late 2000s on the back end of Urlacher and Briggs and Peanut, where we're throwing in maybe you get Jay Cutler there in 2009, but before that you're throwing out Orton, the back end of Rex Grossman, and you have this great defense, and what are you doing? You're throwing out just a Barnum and Bailey's offense, and you don't get anything on the scoreboard.
Brother, man, I can't wait for them to win for you, bro. I feel you, dog. I feel you. I know you want it, bro. I know you want it, man. I know you want it. You deserve it. I want them to win for real fans like you, John. And it's like, it's coming, bro. We got it's like a newish wide receivers coach. I mean, it's all these different factors that go into it. If it wasn't for Cordell Patterson running back 2 kickoff returns, Mitch Trubisky would have beat the Patriots 2 years ago when Mitch Trubisky ran a 40-yard touchdown in. Like all these different things of sacrificing your body for the sake of the team. And one of those returns, there was illegal blocking in the back that didn't get called. The Bears beat the Patriots that game. But it's all these different things. These bombs, when Buster Screen is not as tight on that 3rd down, is not as tight on those slant routes, and the defense can't get off the field enough. You see that can't get off the field enough. All these different components come into play. On 3rd down, can we get off the field? Can we get our offensive more reps? All these different things. I don't want to change the quarterback for the sake of a thing. That's not shifting the blame. I just think it's going to be beautiful. I dream of a day when it all comes together. And we have tight ends that can catch, bro. We have tight ends that can catch. We have tight ends that can take a hit. That's what I like in a young brother Cole Kmet. Just seeing the draft video. Tight ends that can catch the ball and knock the dude over and take it for another 7 yards. We got a guy in Jimmy Graham that knows how to get open. Separation from the wide receivers. And so
they said he's been flashing. They say Jimmy Graham's been flashing in camp, and maybe he found the fountain of youth. No one needs 85, 90 catches out of Jimmy Graham. But if Jimmy Graham puts in 60 catches, 65 catches, and maybe throws in 6 touchdowns, being a red zone target, much like Anthony Miller can be a red zone target, much like Cole Kmet could be a red zone target, something that we hoped Adam Shaheen could evolve into, then we're good. So maybe the tight end position. I know Nagy likes to use the tight ends. He had nothing there, and all respect to Jesper Horsted and all the other boys, but there was just not anything at the position last year. So if there is something there, you would hope. But even that being said, they're there now. And they're in training camp. Maybe we're not seeing it all. Maybe Mitch is producing with them on the field. I just wish that, and maybe this all is one big grand secret and someone has been playing much better. I just wish that was a little more ironclad right now, but that's a lot of wishful thinking, especially as a Bears fan. If anyone has been paying attention to my screen here, I'm inverted here. Here we go. Nope, right here. That's my TV right there. That's the 1988 NFC Championship game where the Bears lost 28-3 to San Francisco. Aldo, you remember that? I wasn't even born yet, but Aldo, you remember that game? Mike Tomczak had to step in for Jim McMahon. Richard Dent wasn't even playing. So maybe I'm just really snake bitten, and maybe I'm coming across as a cynic, and I don't want that to be the case because there is a lot of positive to take away from this team. There's a lot of upswing. There's a lot of upside on this team. I would much rather have this team than a lot of other rosters in the NFL right now. I'd rather have this coaching staff than a lot of other coaching staffs in the NFL. I don't want it to make it seem like this team's going to win 4 games. I hate this team, hellfire and brimstone. I don't believe that. I believe this team has a lot of potential. But after last year of having so much hope, I was so in on this team last year because I saw what they did in 2018. They brought the core of that back, and I said the only where to go is up, and they didn't. So maybe I don't. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So this can go one of two ways. I'm really hoping that this team is on the upswing. I'm just being a little more cautious about it this year because I can only take so much. As I get older, the heart's going to give out a little more. So I need to temper expectations a little bit until I can see it with my own eyes. Until week 1 against Detroit, whoever's playing quarterback, if the Bears put up 24 points, okay, all right, let's see what's going on. And if they continue that with they don't need to be Kansas City. They don't need to be Dallas, but not with that defense. But hell, they could be Minnesota. I mean, they could be a couple of these, middle of the pack offenses that just, even at the very worst, picks up 2 or 3 first downs on a drive and gives the defense a breather. They could do that. I want to see that. I'm right now. I'm in a more show me, don't tell me kind of mindset because I bought in so hard last year. I'm just not going to do it again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So I'm hopeful, but I still have some reservations. I sound like I'm getting into a relationship right now. It's like, I don't know. I've been hurt before. I've been hurt before.
I know, brother. You are protecting your heart, man.
Yes.
You're protecting your heart from being let down again, man. You don't tell me you're not gonna do it again. You told me you were not.
You said that last year.
and I feel you, man. And you're not coming off as cynical. Let me just correct you, man. You're not. You just want results, man. You want results on investment. But the good part about this is, worst case scenario, the atmosphere has changed so much. I think this is a gold mine for every free agent quarterback next year because there's weapons in place. And that's when you have an athletic offensive line. You got these toys. Mooney, you got speed. You got Robinson who can catch anything. I mean, you got people that want to play the game. And you have, in my opinion, the best front 7 in the NFL, the best linebacking core in the NFL. And so a lot of these are going to change, bro. No, all that dancing crap that Roger does, that's a wrap, yo, because he's going to have to step up in the A-gap. We're going to miss Goldman, but with Robert Quinn, I know we're going to talk about off-season moves, but I feel like the offense is going to have at least a third more reps of opportunities to create points because of the defense.
Real quick, I want to ask, but real quick. This is basically just a one-word or one-sentence answer. In 2021, let's just say Mitch isn't there and Foles isn't there. Do the Bears go back to the well in free agency, or do they draft a guy to start for them in 2021? If neither one of these guys are there next year, what do they? I don't know what the free agent class looks like. I'm not sure what it is, but if neither one of them is there, do you go back to the free agency, hopefully stopgap guy that can get you to the playoffs?
Both, in my opinion, both. You have to. First of all, you have to draft somebody. You're going to have to draft somebody, which is great because our defense, bro, we don't have that many positions in need. This is freaking exciting, yo. We don't like Jalen Johnson should work out. Like, if anything, maybe a safety, but I feel like safety will work itself out. We don't have that many question marks with the starting. I could break down the entire starting roster on both sides of the ball, and there's not that many question marks. Okay, eventually depth in the interior lineman, depth on the interior linebacker position. But besides that, bro, like, come on. Then you investment in the offensive line. So it's okay. We're getting to that point where it's okay to spend a second round pick on the quarterback if you need to. And at the end of the day, what quarterbacks might be fighting to come here? Why not? This is a major market. You're either gonna be on Khalil Mack's team or go against them. Pick your poison, dog.
Well, first of all, we've got to hope that Mitchell Trubisky has a sensational season this season. Yeah, he shows that he was worthy of that second pick of the draft. And if he does play well, he doesn't necessarily have to go away. You can franchise tag him and pay the $35 million. I think the franchise tag might be next season. So you could keep him here. Now, if it's Nick Foles that has a great season, then I don't think his contract allows for him to be franchise tag. I'd have to double check that. I think he's got an out written into his contract. He renegotiated his deal so that if he has a great year, he can hit the open market. And so that is the big quandary. In my mind, to answer your question, John, you have got to draft another quarterback. And there's some good ones coming out. And I've got to tell people, watch the show Draft on Tap with Danny Shimon. He's already started posting shows onto our YouTube channel, looking at the college quarterbacks available, because we just know that we are going to draft a quarterback somewhere, whether it's in the first round or the seventh round. There has to be a developmental quarterback chosen by this team. And besides Draft on Tap, we've got tons of other shows that are talking about football, college football, the Chicago Bears. We're going to have 3 or 4 shows during the week dedicated solely to the Chicago Bears, like this one, Bear Football. And you saw the promo at the beginning of this telecast. Gabriel Schuster. Greg Gabriel was the college scouting director for the Chicago Bears for 9 seasons. He's been in the NFL for over 30 years. Last season, he was the player personnel director for the XFL Washington team. So we have got knowledgeable people like John and Tyler, Greg Gabriel, Danny Shimon, and many more to talk Chicago Bears football. We've got you covered. And we've got Mark Shanowski and David Schuster, guys who love the game of basketball. So if you like the Chicago Bulls and the NBA, you should be watching Sharpshooters here on the Barroom Network. I am going to have promos up for all of these new shows over the next coming weeks so that you can become familiar with the entire slate of programming we have here at the Barroom Network. And before this show is over, John is going to talk about a new project that he's working on, and Tyler's going to talk about a new project that he's working on. So we're going to give you a glimpse into some of the things that they're working on. We're going to take a quick break, and this is a glimpse as to one of the other shows that we're doing here on the network. It's a really fun show with Les Grobstein. If you're familiar with Chicago radio, Les Grobstein is an icon, and his buddy, a sports broadcaster for 30 plus years in Chicago, David Schuster.
There was one guy who was a linebacker with the Bears. This would have been around circa 1993, 94, in that range. He was from Texas A&M, and everybody got along with everybody except this guy. He would stand in front of it. He would grab a baseball bat and stand in front of his locker. He says, anybody gets near with me, and he just kept swinging it around, and he didn't want anybody getting close to him.
Who are we talking about?
Just trying to remember the guy's name.
Oh my God, you're giving us something you can't remember. Les, that's a cardinal sin in broadcasting.
No, but the guy just was...
Aldo, help Les out. Google that one.
Nobody got along with the guy.
This is the best thing we've ever done on the podcast. You just came up with somebody whose name you don't know.
He was on some Texas A&M teams, and there were some real bad players on that team and some good players as well.
Was it the 12th player from Texas A&M?
No, this guy was a starter for them.
I can't believe this.
And you guys want to take a guess on who Les Grobstein was referring to? A linebacker with the Chicago Bears, Texas A&M. It's a tough one. It is John Roper.
I'm gonna get multiple choice. I would have got it.
You're muted.
Never would have guessed that. Yeah, never would have guessed that.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I had to Google it to find out. But apparently, John Roper was not a great interview in the locker room. And just the sight of him keeping reporters away with a baseball bat is like, what the hell? And Les referred to him as Roper the Doper, so we can only guess what that means.
Leave that up to the imagination.
Exactly. All right, John Roper, wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. Listen, what I want to do in the second half of the show, I've got some sound bites of Matt Nagy and also Ryan Nall, who is going to be a huge part of this Bears offense, at least for the first couple of weeks of the season, while David Montgomery is pretty much certain that he's not going to play. We don't know that for sure, but that injury that he suffered in practice, those first reports were really, really scary. And the fact that they're saying it could be anywhere between 2 to 4 or 5 weeks, that's encouraging because it was a non-contact injury. And for any player that has a non-contact injury, you immediately think of what happened to Teddy Bridgewater at Minnesota. But anyway, let's play some Matt Nagy talking about the quarterback position, because that is, of course, the huge topic. And the big news this week is that there is going to be an announcement of who the quarterback is before the game. And so now the process is about how to choose a quarterback. Nagy was asked today, how difficult is it? Is it pretty much an easy decision for the coaching staff to decide on who is going to be the starting quarterback?
It's not clear cut, if that helps you at all. And the way that we look at it as a coaching staff is that sometimes people will say, well, if you have 2 quarterbacks, that means you don't have any. You have 3 tight ends, that means you don't have any. But we know what we have in these guys. We feel really good about both of them. And being as brutally honest as I can be, it's difficult. And I know both of these guys, when you're in a position of competition, there's a lot of them that go on in training camp, but when you look for a position where there's only one spot, sometimes guys, they realize that every rep is so valuable. And what we try to do as coaches is make sure that they just be themselves. So we just want to make sure that at the end of this thing, because really, to tell you the truth, today was our final practice, and it was an awesome practice. I mean, I'm really excited. Yesterday, average practice. We talked about it, and the players responded. Today was one of the best practices that we had all camp. So there's a great energy and vibe. Tomorrow we ended up with a very easy 10-10-10 practice. So really, we're at a point now where we can start hammering through where we're at as a coaching staff. And I think that's what you guys are all waiting for. That's what we're waiting for, but it's not easy for sure.
He said it was the last practice because it was the first fully padded hitting practice. And so now they're going to go into the process of evaluating. So before I get your comments, let's listen to Matt Nagy again, talking about the process of making that decision.
And so now what we can do as an offensive coaching staff is we can pull back. We get through tomorrow, and we'll basically take every clip of every snap of both quarterbacks, and we are going to get in a room and we're going to sit down and we're going to watch all of these clips. And we're not just going to see, was it complete or was it incomplete? We're going to dig really hard into the why. And then we're going to look at situational football. And then we're going to look at what's around him. Is it 1v2, 2v1? And we're going to just shut the door. We're going to have our own opinions. And then ultimately, in the end, we're going to make a decision. I think the more you look at it for us, that's what's most important, is to say, hey, we said from the front end, we are going to be extremely fair. We're going to be open and honest. Well, now that we have a library of tape, which we didn't have in Zoom, we now have a library of film that we can evaluate and critique and judge and make decisions. That's what we're going to do. And then we're going to make that decision. We're going to move forward. Okay. Someone's going to get the job and someone's not going to get the job. And they're both going to have to handle that the right way, because it's a long season. And so in the end, when we all understand that this whole entire organization feels good with both quarterbacks, that's a good problem to have. Now it's our job to make it work.
It's not the ideal situation, obviously, because COVID has knocked out the preseason games. Matt Nagy had made the promise that he was going to play the starters. We were going to see Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky each get their shot with the starters for a couple of quarters before this decision is being made. So they're relying on all of this tape that they've accumulated in all these practices. They're going to dig into it. Very detailed approach to this, Tyler. So what do you think?
He didn't say much. Nagy's great. He didn't say anything, man. He didn't. He never does. And I always watch with anticipation. Like John, I tune in because I hope he's going to give me something. But he's a very good storyteller. He'll tell you a story so you can forget about the question that you asked, and then he brings it back and doesn't really say anything. He's talking about the process when we want to know who the guy is. So thanks, Matt. Like, we're not going to judge it by completion. So what are you judging him on? And so like he leaves it open ended. Like at this, only the same grace that I have is like, you know what? It's his job on the line. You know what, Matt? You want to be vague? Then I have to trust the fact that you were worried about your job. If you're not going to make the right decision, if you're not going to be forthright or more transparent with the media, then I'm going to trust that you don't want to lose your job, and also I have the trust that you have the team's best interest in mind. What that tells me is I won't be surprised either way, and I do believe both of these quarterbacks will handle it well. Because that also, if Mitch doesn't make it, I don't want to lose Mitch either way. If Mitch doesn't shake out, sign Mitch back as a backup. Don't let him go somewhere else and be a champion like that. I like the kid. I like the kid. I like his athletic ability at the end of the day. And I feel like don't do that because he was still like top 3, top 4 rushing quarterbacks in the league. And so that's still something that can still be valued. And so.
Yeah, there was a lot of word soup there that Matt Nagy served to us. Not saying everything and saying nothing all at the same time. But I mean, I guess what is he supposed to say? Yeah, well, this guy sucks, so we're probably gonna go. No, so I get it that there's a process. This is a weird year, and what makes this even worse is. Even no matter who the starter is, he didn't get the right amount of reps in training camp because you think Tom Brady's splitting reps with Blaine Gabbert in camp right now? No. You think that all the surefire number 1 quarterbacks are splitting this many reps with the ones with their backups? No. So even whoever gets the job is still kind of behind when it comes to this already shortened preseason without a preseason kind of thing. So they're already kind of a step behind there. When he talks about going to the film, going through the throw, looking at an incompletion, not actually if it's incomplete, but why it was incomplete. And, now we're getting into the very micro, which it sounds good. We're going to the very last inch and we're going to figure out every last reason why this person should be the quarterback. And so whoever has that razor slim edge in the competition will be named the day 1 quarterback. That doesn't make me feel good because that makes it feel like we got to figure out which one of these guys is actually going to start. We can't tell by just looking at them play. We got to go ahead and dissect every second of the film. We got to go through every mechanic. We got to go through every throw to see if it was really his fault for it being incomplete or if there was some other underlying problem there. We got to see how he looks at the coverages. Mitch was supposed to be a master of coverages, but he's kind of just, an intern of coverages right now. But that's okay, even though he said last year he wanted him to be a master of coverages. But I understand that he's just talking for the sake of talking, and he's got to give an answer, and that's the best that he could give. So I'm not going to, get too, rolled into coach speak. But if you got to do all these micromanaging things, just do all these analytics and break down get the Zapruder film out and figure out who's thrown it there and why he threw it there. I don't feel great about that. I don't feel great that they're so deadlocked that you can't just look at them play and figure out who's going to be the number 1 starter. But that's the process. And I like Tyler said, I'm trusting that they're going to pick the guy they really do feel is the best for that. So if that's their process of locking themselves in a bunker and looking at hours and hours of film and breaking it down second by second, so be it. Maybe it works. But I will say this. The second they name a quarterback, let's say they name Mitch Trubisky the starter, you know what the first question out of a reporter's mouth is going to be? Will you hesitate to replace him if he's struggling? I want to hear that answer. I want to hear that answer of, no, Mitch is our starter moving forward. Or is it going to be, well, we take it by game basis, and we're looking at a game by week 1. We're looking at week 1. We're not worried about week 3. We're not worried about week 5. We're worried about week 1. Let's see if there is a leash. But if he does say, we're reserving the right to throw a guy in if somebody's not producing, then this competition sure as hell wasn't a runaway. It sure wasn't. It really was neck and neck all the way to the last day. And so if you give any kind of inkling that you might be willing to replace a guy if the other one's struggling, then there wasn't a clear-cut winner, and they're willing to throw in the other guy the second that the first one doesn't work out.
You guys, actually, it was John that broke the news to us here with the news that Leonard Fournette has signed or is about to sign with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So he's going to team up with Tom Brady. They're definitely going for the Super Bowl down in Tampa Bay. How disappointed are you guys before we get back to Matt Nagy? And actually, the next thing to talk about is the run game. So how disappointed are you guys that Fournette is not going to be wearing navy blue and burnt orange? John?
Oh, you're muted there. I'll let you go, Tyler. Go ahead.
I mean, I want to see the details of it. Did they reach out to them? Did they reach out to that? What's the contract details? And so I wanted him in Chicago. That would have been awesome. That would have been a great, especially in the red zone. I mean, my man is a workhorse. Change of scenery would have been very healthy. That would have been less attention on Mitch. That would have been great stuff for the offensive line. Great stuff. I mean, you want horses, and you want horses. You want horses at your disposal at the end of the day. I love what we have. I love what we have in CP. I love what we have in Ryan Nall. And David, take your time. With young investments, take your time, be healthy. And so with Leonard, I did want him. I think that would have been perfect timing. But then that goes to show you Tampa's not playing around. If you haven't got it figured out yet, Tampa is coming. And I'm excited to see Sunday night, week 3. Oh, baby.
You know what? I wanted him too. And all these analysts saying he doesn't fit into the Bears system, and he'd be a nightmare in Matt Nagy's system, and he wouldn't have brought anything to the Bears. Well, remember when Jordan Howard was here and he was able to bulldoze his way into 3 or 4 yards when you needed it, and you didn't have to do a double reverse, flanker fake jerk route to get a 3rd and 1 conversion? Remember when you could just hand the ball off to somebody and get 3 yards? That's what Leonard Fournette's going to get you. And who cares if he's a little bit limited? He still had a pretty good year with John DeFilippo as an offensive coordinator, mind you, that he can bring a lot to the table. So are you more happy without Montgomery in there? Are you more happy with just Cohen, Patterson, and Nall, or would you feel a little bit better with Fournette thrown in that mix as well? I know I'd feel a lot better with Leonard Fournette in that mix, because you can have that same dynamic that you had with Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen whenever they were very effective. Obviously Howard couldn't catch a cold, but he still was an effective runner even though he was limited in the passing game. So bring him in. What would it? I mean, it's just some more talent that you add to the backfield. Now but this whole time, and I bring this all the time, Aldo, you've been calling for a veteran running back to be brought in for months, and they have not done it. So they must either feel that Montgomery's injury isn't as serious as some people are saying it is, or Matt Nagy's fine with having Tariq Cohen and Cordero Patterson and Ryan Nall tote the load. Or maybe that gives him an excuse not to run the ball, and he can throw it 400 times a game like he likes to do so much. Maybe the run game will just be swing passes or, end arounds or reverses. Maybe the run game is going to look like the wing tee. I don't know why they didn't bring in another veteran running back, but they never really gave the indication that they were looking for one. They could have called Devontae Freeman anytime they wanted and brought him in to, at least for a workout, to see what he could bring. He brings a lot to the receiving game. He would have been a nice addition to the Bears backfield, but they didn't do anything with the running back, really. So they're apparently happy with what they got. We'll see what that means week 1. We'll see what the game plan looks like with those guys back there if Montgomery's not playing. So if they're happy, they're happy. We'll see what that is. We'll see what that actually means.
Well, we'll see Saturday, September 5th. That's when players are going to be cut. And it could be that the Chicago Bears know pretty much there's going to be a couple of good running backs they're going to be cut and they'd rather go with maybe a lower cost option as opposed to paying a Freeman or Fournette top bucks. They've got to save some money to sign Allen Robinson to that long-term contract that he deserves. So it could be a money-driven decision. It could be that they've got their eye on a couple of backs who they think there's a good chance are not going to make the final roster. Or as you said, John, it could be that they are really, really excited about the run game with Ryan Nall in there. Let's listen to Matt Nagy talk about Ryan Nall.
We have a lot of trust in Ryan. He's a kid that now, as a free agent, a credit to our personnel staff on finding him and getting him here. And what Ryan has done is he's earned his way onto this team via special teams and as a role player. And now he's starting to grow more and more. So that trust factor that we have with him, we can do some different things. I know Tabes really likes him. And so here he is going into his third year. And I think that's a credit to him because he never worried about other stuff. He didn't count numbers. He just did everything he could do to become a better running back and a better special teams player. And when you have that, it really helps you out.
Let's listen to Ryan Nall talk about the running back room and what's the level of confidence among the backs in there.
I think we got a great group of guys. We brought CP in to help us out a little bit this year. And him, he's a playmaker. It doesn't matter where on the field. If he's got the ball, he's going to do his thing. David, he's strong, sturdy, dependable guy. And, Reek is explosive and, unguardable in this league. And, I fit in there as well. I can help out wherever I can. I can line up that fullback. I can get some touches, get some catches as well. And, we got a real solid room. And, I believe in these guys and they believe in me and our coach got faith in us. So I think, going forward, we're just going to continue to lean on our room and continue to roll.
One more soundbite here from Ryan Nall. He's talking about the identity of this run game. Listen to this.
We kind of feel it already in camp. We're starting to run the ball more. We're starting to have a little bit more physicality up front. With the backs, we're starting to run a little bit more confident, a little bit more physical. And we're just kind of get things going a little bit. I know it gets frustrating at times when you can't get the run game going. But I feel like for us, the difference between this year and last year is that we're not going to get away from it. We're going to continue to harp on it and pound and pound and pound. And eventually one's going to bust. And when it does, watch out because we're coming. It doesn't matter who's got the ball. We're all going to be, hyped up for each other and we're going to get rolling.
John, what that tells me is that we're going to see a lot of double tight end formations. We're going to see a fullback. Ryan Nall played that fullback position. If we can believe what Matt Nagy has said and what guys like Ryan Nall are saying, there's going to be a commitment to this run game this year, unlike what we've seen the first two seasons of the Matt Nagy era.
Great, because then you keep the offense on the field a little bit more. Maybe you don't throw 3 incompletions. You take about 12 seconds off the clock, and then you trot the defense back out. So I would love to see a commitment to the run game. I'd love to see some blocking by the 2 tight end sets, but throw a fullback in there. They seem like they're pretty committed to Ryan Nall, and maybe they just don't want to make another spot in that running back room. Although you talked about, they could be picking a guy off of, who gets cut or someone from another team. I just looked up some names just real quick that could be cut. With Fournette going to Tampa Bay, they did just sign LaShawn McCoy, but it's something that they could get rid of real quick. Maybe that's McCoy spent a year in Andy Reid's offense last year. He is about 95 years old, so maybe they wouldn't go out that way. But same with Adrian Peterson in Washington. That's a very crowded backfield. So there is the possibility that they could go get somebody in New England's probably going to get cut. They signed Lamar Miller a couple weeks ago, but they got Rex Burkhead, James White, Damian Harris. They got tons of guys back there. So one of them will probably get cut. So maybe they're looking for something off that scrap heap. But if this is what they're committed to, that's fine. But in that set, who's running the ball? Who's running it between the tackles, right? If Montgomery's not there, is Ryan Nall going to run the ball 15 times a game? Is that where we're at? Is that where the comfort level is at? Are we okay with that? Is that what we're looking at?
Well, let's take a look at Ryan Nall running the ball and in a preseason game and see what he can do. Here you see him, the left tackle is pushed right into his lap, and yet Nall finds that hole and picks up positive yards. Here's the play again, Tyler. Take a look.
Yep.
Despite the fact that the offensive lineman did not hold his block of the defensive end, Nall is still able to get positive yards. Now here's Nall out split left. You can see he's got good hands and he's not afraid to go over the middle. So he's that kind of versatile back who can he can run in between the tackles. He can take it outside and he can line up as a wide receiver. He's got reliable hands. I like this kid. He's had some really excellent preseason games, albeit against second and third stringers, but I do like what this guy can do.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Aldo, what I'm seeing a lot of those clips is third and fourth quarter in a preseason game. So he's going against guys that might be bagging groceries right now. So and I want him to work out. I think if they put this guy on the field and he hits, that's a great find. And I will applaud them for keeping him around as long as they did, because he blossomed into what they thought he was going to be, and that's a great development. That's how you develop a player, and maybe he turns into that. But once again, we're kind of beating a dead horse, and we're kind of going back to this theme that it's 2020. Let's win now. Ryan Nall has how many professional carries right now? 2, as far as regular season games. So you're banking on that transitioning into going against number one defenses, and I hope it works. And I hope you showed the versatility there. He can catch the ball. He can run it. He can adjust. He can see lane. He can see running lanes. Does that translate right now? Right now, does it translate? If you throw him in there week 1, you're going to give him 20 carries? That'd be great if it works, but I have no reason to say I know that's going to work. I know it's going to be effective. I can't say that because I haven't seen it.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you on all of that. The reason I think you're going to appreciate this even more, the fact that I love, like, again, undrafted, short, like a diamond in the rough. I mean, you wouldn't have a James Conner. You wouldn't have all these other guys. You got a guy up in Kansas City who's about to take over right now, who's going to be like one of the top fantasy running backs coming out with right now. I like Ryan Nall. I like them coming out the draft. Yo, John, my man squats 400 pounds, bro. You see what I'm saying?
Give me that. I like that.
See?
All right, you're selling me.
And when you squat 400 pounds, you're not afraid to go A-gap, which means you're not afraid to get 2-3 yards to get the first down. And he didn't have the closeout speed, but he has breakaway speed and he has toughness. And so I see my man doing high squat jumps. I like a guy who's proficient in his craft. Everything he does in the gym makes him better on the field. Those are the guys that I want to buy stock in, not just the flashy names. And so Ryan Nall, I'm glad he's getting his due. And it works out because sometimes we get these undrafted and you see the film like, oh man, you never know. But you get a name, the guy never gets an opportunity. But this is how champions are made, bro. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Yeah. But my man puts in work in the gym. He works on his body. He looks like he slimmed down a little bit. So that maybe he worked on the top end speed and some breakaway speed. But I know he has power, bro. And at the end of the day, we got somebody who can make the defense tired, which is also another point of the running game. Every run isn't supposed to go for touchdown. We'll take the 6, but sometimes you just want the defense just to get tired and to throw them off. And so, but Ryan Nall, my fault, brother. Ryan Nall, CP, they are gonna strike. If they see a lane, they're gonna go for it, and that's what I want to run the back.
No, and I know you'd love to break down player psychology, and I'm all with you on this one because it's true. An undrafted free agent versus a first rounder, who's going to invite contact a little more to prove that he can get 2 or 3 yards? The guy who's been pushed off to the practice squad, the guy who's been sent off to the bench, the guy who's been cut a couple times. That's the guy that isn't afraid to lower his helmet into your chest and say, this is my chance. You first round picks are saying, hey, you made an investment in me. You're going to give me a year. You're going to give me a little more treatment. Ryan Nall says, I'm going to make my own opportunity. I'm going to run right through you. I want him to work out because I love his mentality and I love his skill set. So I'm not taking anything away from that. And I'm excited to see what he can do if that's the route they decide to go. I'm just saying there's a little bit of a window there to be like, all right, if this doesn't, let's just say Ryan Nall doesn't work, then what do you do? Because there's not a whole lot of depth at wide receiver. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of speed with Cohen and Patterson, and I'm talking without Montgomery right now. But without him in there, and if Ryan Nall isn't effective, what's your contingency plan? And that's why I thought that maybe just one more body in that running back room might have been effective, and it still might be. I'm not saying that I mean, Patterson can fill out as a, like he said, he's a full-time whatever coach needs me to be. So he could be wide receiver. He could be lining up in the backfield. Hell, he might be playing defense by the end of the year. So it's all about what they feel like they need, and I guess they feel like they got what they need in the running back room.
And you got to remember that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You got to remember, I think Tariq Cohen is in a contract year, so maybe he's going to step up to. He's going to step up to another level, and then also goes back to the improved defense. More reps for the offense, bro, which means more opportunities. So nobody has to be. A man is not a prophet of his own land, and so it doesn't take. I don't care how we win the Super Bowl. Just win the dang game, yo. I don't care who is winning fantasy. Bears winning first trumps everything. I'll lose every freaking fantasy league. I don't care. If the Bears win, I'm happy. So if we have 200 yards and 3 guys did it, so what? No. It's easier to fix problems with a W. Give them a dose of CP. Give them a dose. Keep the defense honest. So it doesn't matter if you have a number one. When the guy goes down like David Montgomery, I hope he probably like, damn, I hope I get my job back, because he probably like, Ryan Nall is hungry. And so is CP.
Well, and I was going to say that Greg Gabriel in a recent Gabriel and Schuster Talk Bears episode said, don't worry about David Montgomery getting 25 carries or whatever running back. What you want to see is a total from all of the running backs touching the ball 30 to 35 times a game. You want to see, perhaps, let's say Montgomery doesn't play week 1, but if Cordell Patterson touches the ball out of the backfield 10 times, Tariq Cohen 10 times, and the slot a few times and so forth, and Ryan Nall 10 times, then you're getting that, you're getting the backfield involved into the game, and you're keeping the defense honest. And I think that's a really good point for us to remember. I think the days of the Chicago Bears, at least under Matt Nagy, of us seeing a running back carrying the ball 25, 30 times, that's rarely going to happen. It's going to probably be because of injury issues or weather or something like that. I remember Matt Nagy used to brag when he first came to the Chicago Bears. He used to brag a lot that Kareem Hunt, they had him a couple of games when he was the offensive coordinator over at Kansas City Chiefs. With the Kansas City Chiefs, they had Kareem Hunt rush the ball 25, 30 times on a couple of games for a couple of games. But boy, that hasn't happened with any of the guys here. So I think that Matt Nagy's true colors are coming out. Now, I want to play this soundbite, and this really goes back to something that Tyler was talking about at the very beginning of the show when he was discussing the 2019 season and all of the missing pieces that there were for this team with the offensive line, the tight end, and so forth. And a lot of things that don't get one position that doesn't get mentioned is that opposite wide receiver for Allen Robinson. Because of injury concerns, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller, and so forth, we didn't get the production out of that opposite wide receiver position. But the good news is, according to Matt Nagy, is that Anthony Miller is having a hell of a camp.
He started out a little bit slow the beginning of training camp. He might have had the best training camp of a lot of players on this team. He had an amazing training camp where there was a few things he was making some mental errors early on, but then the best part about Anthony is that when you correct him, he doesn't make that same mistake twice. And that kid is playing at 110% on every single play. I think that for us, just to have that's a credit to him. He took the challenge, and he really had an awesome camp.
Gentlemen, key player for the 2020 season. Tyler, am I right or wrong? Anthony Miller, there's a lot invested in this guy. We traded back into the second round to select him, and this is year 3 for Anthony Miller. This is when receivers generally tend to mature and get familiar with the offense. Greg Gabriel was saying by year 3, the wide receivers start to run faster because they're thinking less and reacting faster because they know the playbook. They know the defensive backs. They know things so much better. So hopefully what Matt Nagy is seeing out of Anthony Miller is going to translate for 16 games this season.
1,000%, Aldo. Muscle endurance, muscle memory, less thinking. You're physically. I'm just hoping his shoulder's okay. Catch the ball. I like his attitude. He wants. I mean, kind of a Terrell Owens-esque, like he wants the ball. Like he's the number 2, but he could be the number 1. And so he may be used to that. I like his attitude. He wants the reps. And so it's going to be on Mitch. But when Mitch delivers it, he has to show up. He has to show up. So it's going to come down. I'm interested to see because everybody wants to be the man until it's time. And so I like Anthony Miller. You're 100% right. Key position because that's going to take so much pressure off everything else. What he does is going to affect the slot. It's going to affect Mooney. And so it's all going to feed off each other. And so especially if Mitch get him with a pump fake, if you get him with a pump fake with Miller going slant and then Mooney's going streak, it's going to do so much. And then imagine with the double tight end set. Yo, all of our wide receivers are going to have one-on-one coverage now. That was exciting, guys. I think first downs may come at an all-time, I'll just say a 5-year high on first downs per game because we're going to have so many one-on-one coverages, and I like where we are in our skill positions that I trust the athletes that we have in a position to make the plays.
John, I see you rolling your eyes a little bit there.
No. I rolled my eyes because I thought about what this year's competing with in the last 5 years. And other than 2018, yeah, I could get more first down than a John Fox offense. So it's not. Just although that sounds great and I hope it works out. I hope it would work out because look at the competition there. But I couldn't agree more because I think this is the year that Anthony Miller could have a real breakout season. You got Aldo talking about third year, he's running faster, thinking less. Also, probably not freelancing as much as we saw, where you can't like kind of create your own route on the fly and try to just find your own because that throws off the timing of the quarterback. Being much more disciplined, but the key to him is being able to stay healthy. He has flashed that he can be a really, really good receiver in this league. Got to stay healthy, and that's something that's out of his control. That's out of everyone's control. So you hope that he can go the full 16, because then it's the kind of who do you throw out on the other side? Do you throw Ted Ginn out there then, or do you put Mooney in there, or Wims, or Ridley? So I mean, after Miller, there's a lot more of a hodgepodge, so to speak, where you're not really sure what the pecking order is of the receiving core. I think there's a lot of potential in the receiving core. I think Ridley could come along finally after not really being involved too much last year. I love Darnell Mooney coming out of the draft. He was in my mock draft for the Bears. I think this kid can fly, and who better to learn from than a guy who made a 14-year career out of flying down the field, and Ted Ginn. I think that's going to be a masterful apprenticeship program to teach a guy not only how to run routes and acclimate him to the game, but how to be a professional. Ted Ginn, he didn't live up to his high billing coming out of the draft. He was a top 10 pick or something like that. Never lived up to that. However, was able to stay in the league for 13, 14, 15 years. That takes a lot of mental strength here to realize people were expecting a lot out of me. I didn't give it to him, but I'm going to give the best that I can. And the best that he can is a pretty damn good professional in the NFL, which is a lot more than what most people can say. So I think there's some very valuable lessons there, especially to lower round draft picks to say, hey, put in your work, do your best, and you can have a long career in the NFL. There's some first rounders that don't make it 2 or 3 years in the league before they peter out. But to have longevity, and so this is something my uncle used to talk about. He said he's like, there's guys that got by on their physical ability. They lasted 3 years because they never put in the mental work to it. They never studied. That's why my uncle was able to play 15 years in the NFL. He wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, sure as hell wasn't the biggest, but he was a absolute fiend when it came to watching film, looking over offenses, understanding where he had to be. He knew where the ball was going to be before the ball carrier knew where it was going to be. So the fact that they have some of these veteran guys now, and I'm talking not just in the wide receiver core with Ted Ginn, but you also have that in the tight end group now with Jimmy Graham. He's also been in the league a long time, obviously some diminishing skill set, but Cole Kmet learning from them now. There's a lot going on there where you see this kind of apprenticeship program in a lot of different positions. I mean, even some of the older guys in the line, I'm sure, are going to usher in some of the younger guys like Rashad Coward, your boy Aldo, who you have high hopes for this year. So I like that there's an interesting dynamic of guys that have been in the league for quite some time and then this new generation, hopefully you're cultivating a new crop of Chicago Bears coming up through. So there's reason to be excited about it. And as far as Anthony Miller goes, he's not going to be the young kid anymore. He's going to be, 3 years is a career for some guys. So this is going to be his time to really turn it up. And I think that he's embracing that, understanding that this is the time that he has to do that. And I think you're going to see some big things out of him this year because the guy's an athletic freak. He can do things not a lot of other receivers can do. And if he can put it all together and stay healthy, you don't got yourself just a number 2. You got yourself a 1A with Allen Robinson. And that's going to be a quarterback's best friend along with a couple of reliable tight ends as well.
The responsibility that I believe that comes with that sometimes goes under the table is being able to block from the wide receiver position. Because going 100% when you're not getting the ball makes a difference. Because look on these runs to the outside. What if the wide receiver, I'm not getting the ball this time. Are you going to pull some of them? We know over receivers that used to do that. I'm not getting the ball, so I'm not going to go 100%. Well, that messes up the whole chemistry now. Well, but supposed to be a counter, a 4-yard gain on the counter. We got a 1-yard gain, so now we're on third down. That changes all the dynamics. You're a 1A. Are you going to block? Like, give me a good block, goes back to the durability of his shoulder. That's in my head. How's his amino acid game up? You see what I'm saying? Like,
breaking it down.
Is he fueled for a season? But are you going to run that route crisp when you're not getting the ball to open up your fellow wide receiver? All of these things, I think, play a factor other than just catching the ball.
Get your reaction to the acquisitions that the Chicago Bears made during the offseason and kind of get your temperature, sort of your grade for did they do a good enough job to address the holes. So let's start at the right guard position. It appears that Germain Ifedi, who played the right tackle position for the Seattle Seahawks, is going to move into that right guard position. Greg Gabriel tells me that when he was scouting him for Pro Football Weekly, Greg was writing their Pro Football Draft manual for a few seasons. When he scouted Ifedi, he thought that he was much better suited for the inside, and some of the tape that he saw in the few games that he played at that guard position, he thought he played much better than he did at that tackle position. So, Tyler, let me begin with you. Do you like Germain Ifedi stepping into that right guard position, or do you wish they would have gone somewhere else and find a better player?
I like some of our younger. I actually like the young guy, undrafted from South Africa, who actually went.
Dieter. I'm forgetting his name now.
I don't want to butcher it. I don't want to butcher it.
Dieter Iceland, something like that.
Yeah, Iceland. I like him a lot. Like, that's somebody that I would like to step in. But if you get somebody coming from Seattle, they know physical play. Like, that's what Seattle does. And at the end of the day, beggars can't be choosers. And when you have a hurt Kyle Long, and so I want somebody who can just keep my quarterback, help keep the center accountable. Somebody who's veteran enough to have a peripheral, as in your assignment. But if the center messes up, you can give that other guy, you can give the DT like a nudge, and that's something that Fermetti brings to the table. And so I like my other guy because I just want physical play at the line of scrimmage. I want physical play. I want like the Raiders did to us last year, John. If you remember, the Raiders every snap they took a step forward. It was always a step forward, and that's something that I feel like Castillo was going to bring to us, being more physical and athletic. But I like the guard. I mean, we're going to see, bro. I'm trusting the coach. I'm trusting not just the player, but the coach that's directed him, because it is a Super Bowl winning offensive line coach.
Yeah, I like it. I think that it's an upgrade from what they had last year. I'm not great at breaking down linemen, so I take a lot of experts' opinion on this, and a lot of the consensus is that Ifedi is much better on the interior than he ever was on the outside. And I think that whenever you have kind of that change of pace where he's not going to have that pressure of being a first-round pick in Chicago. He can come in, learn the craft, do his job, and I think he's going to do a pretty good job there. And I think it's going to be an upgrade from what we've seen. And they have some things in the hopper as far as, developmental players that they can put in there who they can maybe see down the road, because Ifedi's only on a 1-year deal. So they're going to see what they got him, because if he balls out, he'll get paid somewhere, and I doubt it'll be Chicago. So, but I think this is a good signing. Another one of those win now mode things where it's just like, let's get the best possible for the price, throw him in there, has a lot of potential at that particular position, high draft pedigree, and has played better at guard than he has at tackle. So I like the signing just because I think that it's a no-brainer upgrade, at least. Now, what degree of an upgrade, yet to be seen, but I think it's an upgrade.
Yeah, and James Daniels also is a huge part of this offensive line in the middle. I'm a big proponent that you've got to have three middle offensive linemen who can get the job done, so your quarterback can step up in the pocket. And nowadays, a lot of defenses are putting their best pass rushers in the middle for certain plays and so forth. So these offensive guards have to play strong. James Daniels now entering his third season in the NFL. This is a big season for the second round draft pick. He's got to come through. So hopefully, Ifedi, James Daniels, and Cody Whitehair are going to comprise a great middle. Now, at the tight end position, we've got three guys there. All of them have had, according to the media members who have seen some of the practices, all of them have played well. Demontre Harris, the tight end they picked up from the Kansas City Chiefs. Jimmy Graham, signed as a free agent, had two very disappointing seasons with the Green Bay Packers, particularly when you consider Aaron Rodgers was his quarterback, but seems to have a new lease on life here in Chicago. And Cole Kmet, who a lot of people here at the bar room were a little disappointed that he was picked with that 43rd overall pick. They thought maybe there could have been a better, higher value pick. But nonetheless, the word on Cole Kmet is that he's learning the offense fast and that he's a very versatile tight end who can do it all. You guys satisfied right now with how the Bears have addressed that tight end position over the offseason?
I didn't love the pick of Cole Kmet when it first came out, but it's grown on me, and I've said that on my show that the pick's grown on me a little bit. And I know my initial reaction was they're paying how much for Jimmy Graham? They were pretty aggressive in going out and setting the market on tight ends. When you see some of the other ones that were signed, like Eric Ebron's not making anything, and he got signed with the Steelers. He signed with the Steelers, but. You know what? Everything's hindsight. If it works out, they're like, oh, he was worth every penny. And if he's a good mentor to Cole Kmet and he teaches them how to play the game, he's worth every penny. And I think Jimmy Graham will be on the Bears next year because they got to pay him a good chunk of change on the back end on the other side of that contract? I don't know. So maybe this is another one of those Ifedi deals where they can get out from, Jimmy Graham's contract after this year, and Cole Kmet has a year of polishing underneath him, and he can step in and be the guy next year. Now, maybe they decide to bring Jimmy Graham back, maybe they don't, but I know that this is terrible sports radio when you say I don't really have a strong opinion, but I do. But I'm okay with Jimmy Graham right now, especially with the reports coming out that he's balling out, that he looks good. And one of the best things about Jimmy Graham is he may have a diminishing skill set, but he has been pretty damn reliable the last couple of years as far as not getting hurt, being able to play throughout the season, not missing serious chunks of time, and the best availability, and that's what we have not seen out of the Bears tight ends in the last 3 years. We haven't seen Trey Burton stay in the lineup. We haven't seen Adam Shaheen stay in the lineup. So you have to dive into your third, fourth, fifth options at tight end. So my favorite part about this is it seems like we have in Chicago a reliable 1, 2, and 3 that aren't going to miss the entire season, all sans a bad injury or anything like that. But these look like durable guys that like to rough it up in the middle, especially Cole Kmet and Harris. Jimmy Graham's been around long enough to know how to keep himself healthy and keep himself playing. So I think even though the tight ends may not they may not be the sexiest names in the NFL, and they don't have a Zach Ertz or a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle, they're going to be so much better than last year that Bears fans are going to be like, oh my God, what a great signing, because they got nothing from the position last year. Absolutely nothing. So if they get mediocre, average, or even above average output, that's a win. You'd pay if someone said last year, hey, would you guys rather have Jimmy Graham or I'm sorry, I keep picking on Jesper Horsted, but he's the only one I can remember. Maybe JP Holtz. So it's like, would you rather have Jimmy Graham in this offense last year or what you had? Everyone's going to take Jimmy Graham. And when it's not, and hey, it's the Bears' money. They can spend it how they want. And if he works out, great. And so far, so good.
Man, John, you speak my heart, bro. You say so much that I don't have to say it. Aldo, like that was awesome. Like that was perfect. He was really reading my heart right now. I'll add a couple little things. If you don't spend the money, you lose it anyway. And so at the end of the day, go attack. They attack one of the worst positions of production wise. And then at the end of the day, Jimmy can catch the ball. At the end of the day, sorry that our standards are so low, but Jimmy can catch, guys. Jimmy can run straight. Jimmy knows how to get open. Okay, you don't have Drew Brees' back. I don't care. I'm not counting what he did in the other team, but I'm talking about what he did. What he did with Drew Brees, a beast. Somebody who threw a team that threw for over 4,000 yards. He was dependable for Drew Brees. He knows how to get open. He knows how to run the corner route. He knows how to run the post. Is at the end of the day, with the receivers that we have, if you go to the Saints receiver outside of Michael Thomas, like the Saints had guys everywhere. So what about the Jimmy Graham and Ginn combo? Like those guys, how they have the routes that they could run, the familiarity they have, the mentorship that he's going to give to Cole Kmet. I just like it. Cole Kmet, I think he was one of the third tight ends taken, but he was still one of the top tight ends supposed to be in the draft. And the fact that you can only do with so much. Pace did it. He didn't pass up on him. He didn't go to another team. Roll the dice. I'm happy and excited. I'm excited to find out what can happen. If both of these guys get a touchdown game one, I mean, how could you be upset? That doesn't that equal last year?
Yeah.
I will say this about the Jimmy Graham signing. It did feel to me like it was a panic signing by the Bears. They desperately wanted to pick up a tight end. They knew how important it was to replace Trey Burton. Their confidence in Burton was gone. Their confidence in Adam Kahuna was gone, and so forth. And they could have sat around and waited for bargains, like you mentioned, Eric Ebron. But they figured, let's secure a veteran. We'll draft a guy as well, but let's secure. And so I think they overpaid for Jimmy Graham. But be that as it may, I do believe that Jimmy Graham can have a really good season. And I got to tell you this. I've watched a little bit of tape of Graham with the Packers over the last year and a half. And reports that his blocking is terrible are exaggerated. This guy has improved his blocking over the years. I'm not going to say that he's, Quentin Nelson as a blocker, but he is a serviceable blocker. Unlike his years at New Orleans, where his heart wasn't in blocking, he really wanted to be a wide receiver.
Want to get paid like a wide receiver.
Exactly. But he has made the commitment to block, and when he does, and he did that often enough for me to feel comfortable that he's going to do a good job at the blocking. I'm very hopeful about the tight end position. Now let's move on to we've talked enough about the quarterback position. Let's move on to the other side of the football. At the cornerback position, Jalen Johnson, the 50th overall pick of the NFL draft. He's coming off a shoulder surgery, so he's been brought along slowly. But the word is that now in these last 2-3 practices, he's been unleashed and he is looking really good. Kindle Vildor, who was also a draft pick, he said about Jalen Johnson today that he believes Jalen Johnson is going to be a superstar in this league. Tyler, I'll begin with you. What are your feelings about Jalen Johnson and the depth at that cornerback position now, given that Artie Burns is going to be out at least for the first half of the season, I think?
I mean, you never want anybody to get hurt. So sorry, it's like, dang, like sorry that he got it that way, because it was really good competition. But I like Jalen. I mean, when you get a young guy that you could put on the island, that's what he's used to. And so for our scheme, for what we want our DBs to be able to handle man coverage with the quarterbacks that we are going against in our division. You want our guys to be physical, to be able to attack the ball at the highest point. Jalen, he's looking to take it back for 6. Confidence getting hands on the ball. I'm excited about Jalen, because is this another version of Eddie? We got Jalen is a first round talent. If it wasn't for the injury, that reminds me of Eddie Jackson. And so once again, Ryan Pace, you're showing some genius here. And so sorry that it came from injury, but the fact that he's getting respect from his teammates, the fact that he's following Kyle Fuller around everywhere, picking his brain, it just shows that he's coming in as a rookie, regardless of his draft position, and willing to be a student and learning. And he's going against Allen Robinson. He's going against the Millers. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. The development, even after this year, no matter what happens after this year, I'm excited for the young man.
Yeah, I like it. And we kind of saw what they were doing again with the signing of Artie Burns, that 1 year stewarding kind of thing, ushering somebody into the NFL, a young guy that we saw what we've already talked about. And so I'm not sure how long Artie Burns would have been the starting cornerback for the Bears, because I think that they had aspirations of Jalen Johnson eventually starting. And it just so happens, it's unfortunate that Burns got hurt, but it is fortunate that it seems like Johnson is ready to take that next step into a starting role. And I will say this, if you're a young cornerback, you're getting a lot of help with that front seven in front of you, getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, because Jalen Johnson doesn't have to be a shutdown corner that gets coverage sacks and is on a guy for 6-7 seconds when you got Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack coming in on the quarterback. So the best friend is the edge rush and the pass rush, where he does not have to stay with a wide receiver that long, because they get a lot of pressure from the edges. So I think that he's in a position where he can flourish. And apparently Kyle Fuller's having an incredible camp too. So he's learning a lot from him. He has a lot of great people in front of him.
John's getting happy. John, we need to go back to predictions and stuff, because every question is down. He let his heart open a little bit.
You get me talking about the defense, I get happy. I mean, the offense, I'm going to start crying, but the defense, I love talking about the defense. I can talk about the defense all night.
The defense scored 14 points a game, brother. We got a shot in every game.
It's true. If the defense if the defense can score 14 and hold them to 14, we should be in all right shape.
Yeah, we'll be in every game, that's for sure. We had on Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network, who has become a really highly respected television personality in terms of his draft analysis. He's also a former professional football scout for a number of teams. And Daniel Jeremiah was on the Gabriel Schuster show, and he said that he had Jalen Johnson ranked number 24 in his pre-draft rankings for all of football. So he thought Jalen Johnson was a first-round talent. He also had Cole Kmet rated higher than the 43rd pick that the Bears picked him at. So he was really excited about the Bears' first two picks. But Jalen Johnson, I believe, is going to – if he can stay healthy, he can be a guy who is going to pay immediate dividends. And it's also like you guys have been saying, you give the guy a good pass rush, and his Pro Football Focus grades are going to go up tremendously. Now, over at the safety position, they've addressed the release of Clinton Dix. It really wasn't a release. They just didn't renew his contract. He was signed for a 1-year deal, and they went shopping for Tayshaun Gibson and also re-signed Deion Bush, and those two have been fighting it out for the starting job, but it looks like everyone kind of expected Gibson to win it. And while no official announcement that Gibson is going to be the starting safety, it looks like that's definitely going to happen. John, let me begin with you. Are you happy with Tayshaun Gibson, the former he's a veteran who's formerly played with the Cleveland Browns, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and last season with the Houston Texans? He had two great seasons with the Browns where he had a total of 9 interceptions over a 2-year span. Are you happy with Gibson? Do you think he's still got some juice left in the tank?
Well, I will say this. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he's the starter on this defense. He's been banged up. I think he's dealing with a lower back injury right now, or I believe that's what I heard. If he's not getting reps at camp and Deion Bush is getting all the action and he's playing well, I think there's still a shot that Deion Bush could be the starting safety for this team. But that being said, Gibson was a guy they waited. They didn't draft a safety like I thought they were going to do, kind of like I wanted them to do. They didn't really address it early on, and they kind of waited, and they got Gibson. So he's a serviceable safety. And when you look at that position on the defense, that's all you really need. You don't necessarily need a superstar. You need a serviceable guy that can get the job done. And I think they have that both in Gibson and in Deion Bush. So I think they're going to be okay there. I think that they probably did. If they weren't going to invest a relatively high draft pick on the position, then they did what they were supposed to do. Don't invest too much money in it either. Get the guy in. I think he's on a 1-year deal, and see what you can get out. That seems to be what they're doing after Adrian Amos left. They're going to get Clinton Dix on 1-year deal. They're going to get Gibson on 1-year deal. This could be a revolving door until they decide to maybe invest a draft pick there, or Deion Bush maybe balls out and he becomes your long-term solution there. But I think that they did what they were. I think they knew what they were going to do and not really swing for the fences there because they know they didn't have to.
Facts. 100% correct. I mean, I agree with that sentiment, brother. Because the fact of the matter is, don't get beat deep. Don't get bit deep and fill the holes. It's really simple. Fill the holes. Don't get beat deep. We no more Chris Contes. I appreciate you, respect you, but I know it's hard to bring up the memories.
Come on, man.
But fill the holes. I mean, but you must know in that position, that's where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. Like that nickel DB, other safety, that's where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. Bears. Like, think about this right now. Yeah. Like, we should just think about this right now. That's where they're going to go with the ball. So I like guys in this space because on that one, and that's why you do the one contract deal, so you guys can earn it, have that hunger. Because if you want, I'm fine if you're not gonna be here next year. Go get paid, but that means you had a good season this year. Okay, so thank you. And so this 1 year, that's how Philly won a Super Bowl. That was like over 10 1-year deals on that season. A bunch of 1-year deals, and that's really good GM stuff. And for us, now that we solved some of those critical, we plugged the holes, a lot of those bleeding positions, those are we can go back and spend those higher draft picks on as we get there. But Bush, I got my man from Miami. He brings the heat. He wants to hit. I want him to forget to wrap up. Don't put the hit and forget to wrap up. And it wasn't a big hit. The guy went for a touchdown. And so we just being game smart, like being in the game smart, prevent the team from getting the first down, prevent the team from getting like the Hail Marys. I'm just sick of the Hail Marys. If we stop the Hail Marys, bro, we got to remember the Bears, we've swept the Vikings the last 2 seasons, if I'm not correct. You see what I'm saying? And so if the Packers don't get the Hail Marys, we beat them too. And so I don't think Mitch has lost to the Lions yet. And so we're doing well. and so we're doing well. It's coming across. And so Gibson, Bush, get the job done. Come on, man.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to close the show. I'd like you guys to share your thoughts, some inspirational words for all of us Bears fans, because I can't think of 2 better guys than to leave us on a positive note. But so collect your thoughts, and I'm just going to let people know that here at the Barroom Network, we've got tons and tons of programming for you over the next several months. So much of it dedicated to our favorite football team, the Chicago Bears. It starts with Gabriel and Schuster on Mondays. They're going to be breaking down every game afterwards, and it goes on throughout the week. And this show, Bear Football, after every game. I'm so jacked about this new show here on the Barroom Network, working with Tyler and John. I mean, the enthusiasm that they have, the passion that they have, I am just so jacked. I'm going to learn so much from them. And we're going to be on live immediately after the game. So can you imagine the electricity that's going to be ringing out? After we do our 3D open with Bear Football and so forth, these guys are going to be grabbing the mic and saying, let me talk first. I got my thoughts to share. I'm just so jazzed about that. So I'm going to turn it over to you, John, first. Leave us with some thoughts, and then Tyler, and then we'll sign off.
Listen, I know throughout this entire almost 2-hour show, I may have came off as a cynic about the Chicago Bears 2020 season. I may sound like I'm doubting that their ability to make the playoffs. I'm doubting that they can make an impact this year. But know that I'm doing that because I want this team to succeed so badly. I live and breathe this team. I say on every one of my shows, the Chicago Bears is my most favorite thing in the entire world. That's either awesome or really sad, but it is what it is. The Chicago Bears are my most favorite thing in the world. And so I live and breathe with this team. And whenever I had such high expectations last year, they broke my heart when I had to watch that grueling 2019 season unfold. But there are reasons to be optimistic. This team has a fantastic defense. They have some offensive weapons that are coming along very well. let's see what we have at quarterback there. There is the potential there that the quarterback position could stabilize. I'm saying there's a chance that it could stabilize and be a driving force in the offense. The run game, they're happy with it, it sounds like, and it sounds like Montgomery's not going to be out too long. We're going to see what goes on there. The offensive line should be better. And remember, you got one of the top defenses in the entire league. The Bears will have an opportunity to make the playoffs this year. I'm not just saying that because this is the Bears show and I'm going to pander to everyone listening. I legitimately believe that they have a chance to challenge for the playoffs this year. So I'm excited. I know you're excited. I know Tyler's excited. I know Aldo's excited. We're all excited. Please take this ride with us in 2020. We're going to be here after every game, keeping it real for you.
My man, Ja. I just love it, brother. And so the Bears aren't going to win the division just because I'm saying so. I just believe that it's due time. I appreciate John because he's not being negative. He's calling a spade. And us as fans, we appreciate the game of football. With so many things happening in life right now, it's going to be really, really cool to have this breakaway and just appreciate the game itself. And I think what the Bears are putting together, it's okay to be organically just excited about it because you got a lot of things coming together on both sides of the ball. We'll get later into Robert Quinn signings and what those things are going to do for the defense. Because when you got Khalil Mack and Ryan Quinn just like headhunting, that's awesome. I mean, I'm all about DN sack the quarterback pick six. And so if the offense is average and the defense is top 5, what more do you want? Like, appreciate, you know what I'm saying? And so it's going to be a freaking blast. It's going to be awesome. Take it game by game. If the quarterback isn't losing us games, if he's not throwing 6 interceptions or 4 interceptions to the same person or a constant pick 6, it's okay. It's all right. As long as he's not losing us games, that's what I'm excited about. Constant growth and development over the course of the season. This is going to be epic. I can't wait. And I can see the Bears winning the division.
I love the optimism. I love you guys keeping it real. I love the honesty, the authenticity. And like you guys, I'm a fan. Every year I go into the season expecting and hoping and praying for the best. The sensible person in me says, yeah, it's probably not gonna happen. Lived through so much heartache and so forth. But every year I go into the season saying we can win every game because you got to go into every game with the mentality, I'm going to win, right? I'm going to focus only on this game and I'm going to win the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter. And then at the end of the game, we've got a W. Same approach week 2. So I'm predicting 16-0. Why not?
I'll hold you to that.
I know you will. All right, guys. Hey, I promised everyone that we were going to talk a little bit about the new shows that each of you are hosting. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to save it for down the line? I'll ask you.
Do it now.
Okay, John, why don't you begin? Talk a little bit about the new show you and Alyssa Barberi are working on.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this new project. It's a new show on the Barroom Network, and it's called Pass the Mic. That show is dedicated to empowering female voices in sports media. All too often, we hear about female voices in sports media being harassed, being discredited, being unfairly criticized, their looks being picked apart, things that a lot of male media members don't have to deal with. So in conjunction with Alyssa Barberi, who is my producer over at Buffone 55, we are starting a new show called Pass the Mic, where we're going to have female voices on from all levels of sports media, whether it's baseball, football, college, high school, racing, whatever it is. We want them to come on our show, tell their stories, and share their expertise with us, so that those voices that may not have otherwise been heard, they have a platform to talk about their struggle, talk about their journey, and talk about their craft. And that's what it's all about. It's not about me. It's all about people's voices and the just really putting a spotlight on some of the crap that these women have to put up with, and they still go forward with it because they love what they do so much that they're willing to put up with all of this BS that they have to put up with. So I'm super excited to bring this show to the Barroom Network. I'm super excited to keep working with Alyssa. She's fantastic. She is going to be a pivotal part of this show. This is, like I said, not about me. This is all about getting the message across, and that's going to be coming. Actually, first episode will hopefully be this month in September. So stay tuned for that. We're excited.
I'm excited for you two guys. It's a passion project for both of you guys, and I'm just super excited about what you're bringing to the Barroom Network with this great idea. And Tyler had a great idea that he pitched to me, and I said, brother, you know I want you to do this. Take it away, man.
So first of all, John, that was awesome. I can't wait. John, God bless you for doing that, bro. Thank you for shining the light on that stuff. That's really dope, bro. Can't wait to check that out.
Thank you.
I'm really truly excited. Had a conversation with Aldo face to face back earlier this year, early half of this year, and really excited to partner up with my brother, fantasy guru, fantasy champion, my producer, Joe Mandel. Okay, check him out on Fantasy Football Goon, Tucci the Goon. And so the perspective of gains, we will be talking about faith, family, fitness, finance, entrepreneurship. We're not so much focused on we're so outcome focused, we can stay productive above our current circumstances. It's not about me, like my brother just said. It's about the fact that those that are aware of a better way are responsible for sharing it. I'm just very, very blessed and fortunate to be around awesome people, and that empower me. So the energy that I get, we want to give it out to the world, but also show people that we want to share resources. It's bigger than, it's not about what we do when we're on the air. We're going to be shining the light. We're trying to catch people doing things right out in the community. You know what I mean? We're going to shine a light on it, but also we're actively in it ourselves. And so it's really so many discussions happening behind the scenes, but the work for the show is happening in the marketplace. I.e., I'm very heavily blessed because I want to build his kingdom. It's not about us, but it's about teaching a village how to fish. And so rather than having a victim mentality, we're going to offer resources. We're going to connect good people to good people on the network, off the network, regardless. And so looking forward to some awesome guests, awesome times with my brother, Joe Mandel, awesome brainstorm conversation with my man, Aldo, the wizard behind the curtain. And impact and influence is bigger than us. And a prophet is not a prophet of his own land.
Well said, brother. Well said. I am so excited that you guys are going through with these projects. And I got to just say that we're reopening up our website very, very soon. And when you folks visit the website, make sure you check out a page called The Core Values. It's something that Tyler and I worked on together. It's the core values that we aspire to here at the Barroom Network. And we wanted to share them with you because we hope that you will aspire to them too, and you're probably achieving them already, but it's never a bad idea to just keep being reminded about what our responsibilities should be as citizens. Guys, great opening show of Bear Football. I'm so excited for the rest of the season. Let's do the credits and then get out of here and get some rest.